Well, good evening, everyone. You're very welcome to another edition of Inside Line Racing here for round number 17 of ILR6 at the legendary Suzuka circuit. My name is Graham, and I'm going to do my best to help bring you the action from one of F1's just all-time revered tracks. Just a pleasure to drive, a pleasure to watch usually as well. It is just an absolutely fantastic track. You get to see some great racing as well. So hopefully that's what we see here today with this full 20 car grid for ILR6, so a good turnout once again, and so that's what we like to see. Hopefully we'll get some nice clean racing, grid overtaking, and just give the spectacle that this track is so deserving of. So we can we'll go through the standings very quick. Yellow flags here and there. I believe Risky Racer here is the first on a flying lap, so we'll stick with him because I believe he is the first one. There are plenty of out, of course, we got a retirement already in Sector 1, and that is Red. I believe he's one of the reserve drivers, so not the best start then for the Force India, but anyways, we can crack on then with the standings. So at the top, it is after last week's controversial Russian Grand Prix for the title standings that saw Antatak wiped out. It is Danskar leading the way by 25 points. And there he is, he's on track. He's in the pits at the moment. It's Danskar. Antatak in second on 25 points. And then there's a long way back to Alex then in third on 93 points. And for the constructors, as Risky Racer rounds the final corner and crosses the line, gets a set with a 31.6 on a set of the medium tyres, immediately beaten by Apex. And they'll all start to fly in now. Bill then on supers, 28.6 for Bill. So laps will be coming in thick and fast, so if I missed something, I apologise. There's a lot of cars on track. Ant is next. Once Ant crosses the line, we can go through the constructors, and Ant goes second. So the constructors looks like this. McLaren have taken the lead of the constructors. They are now on 264 points, 2 points ahead of Alex and Bill on 262. And then a nice little battle for third and fourth. The Red Bulls, Ant and the Rob, 163 points in third, and then 162 points for Force India in fourth. So that's kind of how that is shaping up. So you can see a lot of different tyre choices early on here. Some people doing the mediums, the softs, others just wasting no time and going for the supers. So we've got a second retirement, and that's Biesma. Sector 2. There's a couple of places you can lose the car here. Coming out of the Dunlop curve there, as we just seen Crumpet do, that's one spot. You can easily lose it in the S's, that's another. 130R can have its challenges as well, for sure. That's definitely a corner you take it wrong, or maybe put too much steering angle into the corner, then that can also be a place where you can be undone. So a few places where you can definitely be spat out by this track. So interesting to see who kind of makes the most of it, really, as Risky's into the pits, Khalifa then into third. So Khalifa's shown some good pace, especially in the last race of Russia now, and sadly he never got to start it, but showed really good pace to get himself up to, I believe it was P3 or 4 on the grid, and sadly disconnected just before the race started, so we didn't get to see what he could have done in the race. But 29.4 on a set of softs. Now look, granted that a lot of people, over half the grid, have not set times yet, so there is that to bear in mind as well. But even still, not a bad time on a set of softs. So a lot to be determined yet, though. A lot of cars obviously yet to set a time. Everyone from 9th downwards has not set a time. So Sir Lane being one of them on the medium tyre. So interesting strategy wrinkle here. You can do set of supers to mediums, and they'll go to the end. It's not the best tyre to be on. Supers is not the most fantastic tyre to be on here. But you can. This is one of the tracks you can do. You can qualify in the softest set of tires, and you can go to the end. So, on the you go to the end once you pit onto the hardest compound. So that being a medium tire in Japan, which of course seasons past that was the hard tire. Of course now it's shifting to the medium tire. Fernandez a bit of a wiggle out of the final corner, and Philip was able to get a nice little toe as well, heading down 130R. That worked out perfectly for Philip, and he lifts himself up into fourth place. Sir Lane then on the mediums, 30 flat into fifth place. A good lap from Sir Lane to get those mediums up into the top 5, but of course a lot to be decided yet. Two Mercedes on a lap, one's at the beginning, one's near the end. We'll stick with Baza, who I think is actually just starting his lap, to be fair. He's on mediums, and Murdoch, his teammate, is on the supers, and he's definitely started a lap, so always interesting to see how the two Mercedes get on. Of course, after the last race is shall we say, excursions. Murdoch was disqualified in the end, so looking to bounce back then from a pretty tough race as Rob dives out the way there onto the gravel of Howitzer, but was Howitzer already held, possibly going through turn 1? Hard to say. Let's hop on board with someone a little bit closer to the end of a lap, shall we? Sir Lane, I think, is going for a second lap back to back, and so we'll stick with him. See, rounds 130 are beautiful camera shots as always, and towards the tricky final chicane, a little bit more difficult in this year than it was last year. Curve a little bit more vicious, and it's easy to grab a little bit oversteer and spin. But what's this going to be for Sir Lane? It is a 29.5, pops him into the top 4. So a great lap then from Sir Lane again, looking like he is the pace setter, but of course has been the case the last few races. That hasn't always meant anything. Track position one thing, race strategy and stint is another. I'm expecting a better time from Apex here as he rounds the final corner and is just starting a lap. Jack Gooding in the Ferrari, get on the grass there, making his way up the hill towards the Dunlop curve and towards the Degners. Let's see how he takes the Degners. Again, a wheel on the grass, losing a bit of time there. Danskar on an out lap. Pro Opus just starting his lap. We'll go back to Howitzer as he comes into the final corner. How does he take this in? Look at the curb. First part looked good, second part you want to take a bit more curb on that final chicane. Let's see what he does though. It's a 44.6, so he had to back off, obviously, I'm guessing at some point in the lap. Baza then pops himself up into 10th on the mediums, and then Murdoch then into 6th on the supers. So lots of activity then. Bill's back out on track, and is back out on track, just 8.5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. I would assume, given the tyre choices, that we're going to see a dry race here, at least to start. So people getting laps in across the board now. Danskar getting the lap in, but it's a 33.6, so he'll have some work to do on that. Jack Gooding coming across the line, the 31.8. Despite his various excursions onto the grass, he does set a 31.8. Stasiak looks like there's a Haas coming out of the pits. Pro Opa is there. See then who else is around. I think Murdoch has actually gone. Yeah, he has gone quicker again. 29.8 for Murdoch this time round. So Murdoch then popping himself into the top 5. So Lane into the pits. Khalifa back out on track, and Bill then is on a lap, and he's just coming to the end of it now. So let's see again. Let's see how he takes the final chicane. Good amount of curb there. Good, yep, that's a good chicane from Bill. That's not too bad at all. And he comes across the line and does not improve his time. So 29.2 for Bill. So unable to improve on that first flying lap. What about Ant then? 29.2 for Ant. Again on a set of supers, as Boyden then is actually in 9th place at the moment, so not bad from him. Saw someone pop up the charts there. Oh, that's a tough one from Ant. And let's see then, can he improve on the lap? A little bit of a wiggle out of that chicane. I think he will improve, and he does indeed improve. 28.4 for Ant, and I think there is some time to be found in that lap as well, especially near the end. So good lap then. Danskar then, that's more like it from Danskar. 28.8 on the softs, that's more like it from the championship leader. How about Khalifa then? He's got Jack Gooding in front of him, so to pull off into the pits. The Force India rounds the final corner. What can this be? It is an improvement. It's a 28.9, and he's still in 4th place is Khalifa. So good lap then. Rob retires in the session, so we've got a couple of retirements now on the session. So track position is obviously important when there's 20 drivers. As Fernandez is disconnected, risky racer in the Haas, Bill's teammate for this race. Nothing doing on this time, just starting on a lap. Pick up anyone on a flying lap. Oh, that's what happened. Pro Opo's out, and that's where he's been. That he's lost that 130R into the barrier. So there you go then. Easy to do, indeed. So cool down laps for Ant, Danskar, Khalifa, Also in the pits. Boyden then on a flying lap. Howitzer then. Looks like he's improved on his time, has he? He has. 30.4 on softs. Very old softs at that, for that matter, as well. He rises into 10th place ahead of Boyden, but we'll see what Boyden can do on a set of the super softs. Mr. Crumpet crosses the line. 30.8 for Crumpet in 12th place. Would like to get a little bit higher than that, you would imagine, for the race. So not a ton of on-track activity then to begin, or sorry, to at this stage with 5 minutes to go. A lot of people into the pits or on cool-down laps. We flick with someone, so Khalifa's into the pits. Dansgar, I'm sure, will follow him as well. And Ant go out. No, he's still there. I imagine he'll pull into the pits as well. So everyone getting ready for their final runs. Bit of a cut there from Risky Racer on that final chicane. Not the best line through there you want to take, but does improve to 6th place, 29.8. Little sketchy, but he's into 6th place with that lap. And Boyden then replies to that with a 29.6 then on the super. So I've seen a lot of people have fit the softs on, but let's see how they set themselves for this final stint then, with just under 4.5 minutes remaining at Japan. Howitzer, I believe, is on another lap on those softs, and if he is, that's a bold one from Howitzer to go 4 laps on the softs. He's very, very low on ERS, so I'm assuming he will surely come into the pits, but he's losing a lot of power, and there he goes, nice early break. And then Crumpet, though, has gone for another run, and let's see, can he improve on his 30.8 to 30.7, but he still remains in P13. So we got Philip then on an outlap Apex, the two Renaults then, Linus Stern on their outlap, softs for Apex, supers for Apex, softs for Philip. Risky is on an in lap, I'd imagine Boyden is as well. So how are they going to decide this then? See how they negotiate this then. Who will put on the supers, who will stick on the softs? Kind of very close here, you can see. Not a ton of people going from supers to softs, at least it looks like at this moment. Might as well sit back on with Boyden, who's on track. Jack Gooding is on an outlap as well, he's on the softs as well. Will Boyden go for a second run, or will he peel into the pits? He's going to go for it. So that will probably be close to his last part of qualifying, and he does improve to a 29.1, puts him up into 5th place. And I'm not sure if there's enough time for him to get in and back out and away onto a flying lap. I think that will be it for Boyden. I think Crumpet's on a lap actually. Crumpet gone for another lap on those softs. We'll find out as he comes down towards 130R. Legendary left-hander, flat out, takes real commitment to send an overtake to the air, and he does back off. So let's go to the Renaults then, because I believe these will be our first cars as such, getting ready for their for a final run. Oh, not the best start for Philip there, gets a bit wide onto the grass, and his teammate does basically the same thing. And what Apex is there, I think, is really important to do. He missed that first Apex there, or didn't really hug it. Before, in previous games, you'd like to hug that Apex, but this one, that curb, and that curb as well, actually, that Apex has just gone across as well, as we've got Howitzer facing the wrong way. But you really have to be careful of the curbs on this game, in this game, because otherwise they will spit you up, those curbs, and it really is so easy to unsettle the car. And if your suspension settings are a little bit high, you're definitely going to feel it. So if you're proficient with the setups, a low setup on the low on the setup, sorry, what am I trying to say? The suspension needs to be quite low, because otherwise you're going to feel a lot of the bumps. And with the curbs here at Japan, that will unsettle the car. That's what I was trying to say, but doing a terrible job. So Philip then is backed out of his lap. Apex will carry on, and let's see what Apex can do then. He's going to be the first one to get himself a lap on the board here in the final runs. Just a minute remaining, and if he's got enough ERS for one more lap, that's all he'll have. If not, this is the final one then for Apex. What can he do? I think this will be very quick. Is it good enough for pole? No. It's actually a second off. It's a 29.4 for Apex. And see if he'll go on another lap. Khalifa starting his lap, so we'll have to keep an eye on it, as frantic activity will be commencing. I think Bill's just starting a lap. Not the way you want to prepare for a lap if you're Ant. So Jack Gooding then starting his lap. Baza looking like he's partway through his. Murdoch, it looks like he could be furthest forward on a lap. By the looks of it, we'll go with Murdoch then, and then we'll figure it out after that. 30 seconds remaining in the session. It's anyone's game really at the moment. It really is. 3 or 4 people could easily take pole position here. Danskar decided he's not going to play any further part. He is in the garage on the soft compound tires in third. So let's see how far he slips down then. Murdoch on a set of softs. I think he'll get across the line in time if he's able to have enough ERS for one more run. But let's see then. Really wide on the grass. And it's not an improvement. It's a 31.5. He won't be improving on that lap. Baza, his teammate, finds an improvement and lifts himself ahead of him. Checker flag is out, 29.5 for Baza then. Apex then, I think, isn't on a lap. Where is Bill? There's Ant. Jack Gooding is there as well. Philip, I think, will be the next one. Is Sir Lane? No, he's not. He's just right there. So we'll go on board with Philip as he rounds the final corner through the chicane. And around he comes. And will he set a time? He goes up to 9th place. Here we go then. Sir Lane, can he take pole position? No, he can't. 28.5 for Sir Lane on the softs. Khalifa lifts himself up into second. And here comes Ant Attack. Looked like he looked like he was involved in some traffic there. Will that cost him pole position? It has cost him pole position. 28.2 for Bill. Lifts himself ahead of Ant. Who is that Ferrari? It's a Ferrari. And it's Jack Goodings. I'm not sure if Jack got... There's possibly a bit of traffic there for Ant on that lap. Maybe Jack just didn't see him coming or something. We're not sure what happened, but regardless, Ant did not get the lap he would have wanted, and that cost him then. Bill then able to take advantage and sneak up into pole position at the death. And that is how our grid will be, as Murdoch is recovering from a spin, and he will have to be content where he is in P11, out qualified by his teammate on this occasion. Probably would have been better to actually just drive into the pits, but across the line. But anyways, there you go. So our grid is set then. We have an interesting grid ahead of us with a few different tyre choices going on. Not too many, but a few nevertheless. Oh, look at this! Look at this beautiful train. Absolutely beautiful stuff here. Absolutely fantastic. As we wait for the session to end, let's just watch. Can we just watch more of that? It's a Haas. Oh, it's over. Anyways, that concludes qualifying, and it is Bill who was taking pole position there at the death from Ant Attack, but Ant Attack, of course, ahead of his title rival for the time being, at least to start. So that's a good thing for Ant headed into this one. So he lines up second. Khalifa then continuing his fine form in third place. Sir Lane then on the first of the soft runners on fourth. 3/10 behind him is Danskar in fifth. Boyd in sixth. Risky Racer seventh. Apex eighth. Baza ninth, and Philip then the only other soft compound runner in the top 10. Then there's Murdoch, Biesma, Howitzer, Crumpet, Rob, Jack Gooding, Pro Opa, Fernandez, Daziak, and Red round out the grid. So not too many different tyre choices going on inside the top 10, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Starting from 4th, 5th and 9th, I believe. My memory is very poor. That's a very overcast looking race, I have to say. Very overcast. Rain could easily be a prospect here. Very much so. We'll see then what the drivers choose. Interesting race in prospect, absolutely. Lots to choose from, of course. I say this every time, but a couple of things you can do with the setup in Parc Fermé. You can change your front wing, which is very important. You need a real pointy car at Suzuka. I think it goes without saying. It's a high downforce track. You can change your front wing, you can change your differential, and you can change your brake bias. And that's about it. So then, As the formation lap begins, what do we have? Well then, so we've mentioned obviously Sir Lane, Danskar and Philip in the top 10 with the softs. Everyone else, bar Pro Opa, have selected the medium tyres. That is somewhat surprising. I would have thought maybe someone else would have, we would see one or two people maybe select the mediums, but there you go, it's just Pro Opa then. So he's going to go long into this race and probably, I'd say hazard a guess, maybe lap 15, 16 or so, and the softs should be able to go to the end from there. Go a little bit longer. You can of course select the these supers. So oh dear, there's a Ferrari off the track already, and that is Mr. Crumpet. So good start there. So a lot of people on the softs then. So is that an indication of rain to come and people just hanging out on the softs? It is overcast in the air, so wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we did see some rain, but that would certainly shake things up a bit. So key things we need to look out for: Sir Lane, Danskar, of course. Sir Lane is easily the car that gets himself in the midst here between Ant and Danskar in their title run. Danskar, of course, on the softs as well as Sir Lane, so be watching his progress with keen interest. The one thing Ant does have on his side is track position. Now, for Sir Lane and Danskar, not as much of an issue as would be, say, if you're Apex or Baza or somewhere, someone right in the middle, because it's a very, very narrow track, this, especially down the main straight, and turn 1 is a tough one. So easy to run into the back of someone, or just any sort of mistake happen. It's a tough corner to approximate, especially heading off the line. So definitely an interesting one ahead. So it'll be interesting to see which of these guys can negotiate it safely and which ones fail the test, so to speak. But Bill then rounds them around and down the main straight. Will take his place on the best seat in the house in Japan, pole position. Can he get a good start? Racing line is very, very key here. Inside line's good, but the racing line is very, very key for this turn 1 as well. So because it closes off quite quickly, and if you have the racing line to swoop around the outside, that's the best place to be. We will stick on board actually with Ad to start, at least on getaway, and I could go with Khalifa actually, see what he gets on. You can see Ant and Bill then from the perspective of the man in 3rd place. Then here we go. The lights will be coming on any second. Here we go then. 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go. Looks like a decent start from the both of them. A little bit slow way for Ant, but he should be able to hold that position. Boyden getting the better of his teammate off the start. How they behaved through the first car. Oh, there's a contact! And is that Danskar with damage? No, it looks like it wasn't. But there's actually a bit of front wing flying across there as they make their way through the S's for the first time today. Oh, there's front wing absolutely flying all over the place. 2 Ferraris, a little bit of contact. And there's an accident at the back. Is a Dazzy X into the wall? Has he collected Rob? No, he hasn't. But at the front, meanwhile, it is Bill still leading the way ahead of Ant. The order is a little bit jumbled up, so I have to apologise for that. I think I can do better, but that's a poor run from Khalifa and Sir Lane able to nip through, and that's Sir Lane into 3rd place already. And can Danskar get a move done quickly as well? No, not this time. How the rest of them into the hairpin. A couple of overtakes going on. Risky racer, and Boyden is possibly the one to lose part of his wing. There's a lot of contact. I did see McLaren lose the back end slightly. I'm not sure if it was Boyden or Danskar, but I'm guessing it may have been Boyden. As they follow around, 5-10 separating the guys at the front, and all. Oh, it's poor run for for Murdoch, and Crumpet might get the run. Let's see if anyone else having to go. Actually, look at Khalifa and Sir Lane. Oh, flag in sector 2. I think Pro has had an off. Oh, down the inside goes Khalifa. It's a very messy one, but Sir Lane will have the inside for the second part of the chicane and does keep ahead. Meanwhile, Ant and Bill, not the best run out of the final corner. Ant will try to go down the inside. This is for the lead of the race. It's a big move for Ant if he can get it done. Outside line. Oh, Bill has run wide, and that has allowed Ant the breathing room he needs. And still sniffing around, but that is then Ant into 1st. So he almost got him back, did Bill, but not enough then, as Ant then takes the lead of the race. That could be a big moment in this race. And look at Danskar's looking to put the pressure on. Oh, Bill is off. So Bill then has had a collision as well with Sir Lane involved as well. His wing looks like it's okay. So not sure what happened there, but all of a sudden Ant now has a 3-second lead at the front. Oh, more contact. That is the other Haas getting himself into trouble into the back of Boyden. So all this has allowed Baza, who also has wing damage, to vault himself up the grid into 5th place, and there's all sorts of commotion going on. Oh, there's contact between Philip and Biesma, and they've rejoined the track dangerously. Crumpet has to get off the throttle of the 3 wide, heading up towards Spoon. Oh, and Howitzer sneaks through, so they have to get themselves through. It's absolute carnage there. As an incident between, was that Biesma off the track? It is Biesma off the track at the entry of Spoon. So, not a bit of sloppy stuff going on here early on in Japan. As Baza looking to go down the inside through 130R. Oh, that was a tough one. That put Boyden and Khalifa in a big spot of bother. And trying to fight back then is Risky Racer. So DRS is now enabled. Sirlane is into the pits. So he must have then got damage. I'm guessing possibly what happened maybe was that, I'm guessing maybe Bill lost the back end coming through the Dunlop corner, and then maybe just Sirlane just couldn't avoid it. A couple of people into the pits to see what's going on. So our front nose cone change? I thought it may have been. Not sure what it was for Sirlane, but anyways, absolute jumbled up grid here to start on. Look at that, absolute carnage. You can see Jack Gooding up 11 places, Baza up 6, Apex up 6, so absolutely just an unreal start here at ILR6 for Japan. Danscar's all the way down at 11, so everything's kicked off at once. Sorry I've missed some of it, but it's just everything's been happening. He's opening 3 laps, so now a bit of separations at the front between the top 3. Boyden not too far behind Baza, and then after that then it's a big old train with Boyden. Sorry, with Boyden actually. There's Jack Gooding, Philip Howitzer, Crumpet, Murdoch, and Probe a little bit further behind that then. So Sirlane on a set of mediums. I don't think they'll go to the end. He'll have to do a 2-stop. Khalifa on softs. They'll have to make another stop there. Same with Risky Racer. Red on supers. Rob then. So all these guys basically will have to make another pit stop. So let's see then, what can Jack Gooding do? Will he have a look into 130R? No, backs off the throttle. Knows better to have a look down there, but we'll have a look on the outside into the chicane. If he gets a good exit, he can definitely make himself make good benefit of that DRS heading down the short straight. Difficult to overtake here at times, but Jack Gooding looks like he's going to have no issues then getting that move done on Boyden, and moves up into 4th place then as Danscar sets the fastest lap of the race. So looks like no front wing issues for Danscar, and that's important. So he's lost a lot of track position, but I think crucially his wing is intact, and he makes a move on Propa then for P10. If you're at the front, if you're Ant, this has been an absolute dream start for you, because otherwise, and Rob is out of the session, retiring. Not sure where that is, but there's a big battle going on. Oh, Philip, down the inside of Boyden, a little bit of contact to the first Degner, and that sets up Howitzer for a move as well to the second Degner. So not the best Degner for Boyden, though I do think has got wing damage. I would hazard to guess. Tough track to negotiate wing damage, so that's a tough one for Boyden. He's just slipping further and further down the field, and he's got Murdoch for close company as well in his DRS zone as well. So Boyden struggling in this early phase of the race, and now down to P7. Field has spread now a bit. No one really massively on the back of someone else. Pit stop wise, everyone from Sirlane has made stops from 13th downwards. They've all made stops, so they'll all have to come in again. Though if Sirlane can get mediums to the end, credit for that, because that's a tough one to do. And speaking of, he gets by Fernandez, who is a Ghost car, so Sirlane somehow losing straight line speed down there towards 130R. But there you go then, he moves into 11th place. He's got a little bit of gap then between himself and his teammate. Meanwhile, Howard are looking to attack a Philip then for P4. Making their way through the S's, and Sirlane then setting the fastest lap of the race. You can see how much Boyden is struggling here through the S section, just struggling to get the car turned in. And you can see his lack of downforce there. Oh, Howard are onto the grass, and that's a very risky one. That could easily have ended up in a massive accident. Meanwhile, Jack Gooding, who has got wing damage on that right hand side, is catching up to the back of Baza, and that's for P3. Oh, when he runs wide as Baz, of course Baz has got wing damage of his own to contend with, so... And look at that, Philip has then he's joined this gang as well, so... These two really struggling with their lack of downforce, and that's bringing Philip and Howitzer into the fold as well. Will Philip get a good, can he get a good exit out of Spoon? And can he take possibly 2 cars before he gets towards the main straight? How does he decide to tackle this one? Oh, you see the bumps. That's what a firm suspension will do for you. And he's just going to tag back, and Jack Gooding's going to go down the inside of Baza, and Baza runs wide through 130R, and then that is the Ferrari into 3rd place then. So Philip wiser just to back out of that one. And will they pitch? Oh, I think Baza is pitching. So 4 laps on the Super is all he could do with that wing down, just sped into the pit lane as well. Philip has gone defensive on Howitzer. Howitzer will have the race in line. Philip moves back across, and that's okay. And so that's decent race in there. If you go defensive into turn 1, it does leave yourself kind of vulnerable to a poor run out of turn 1. Of course, then you're exposed and on the exit. So meanwhile, medium tyres for Baza then should be able to go to the end, but be interested to see. And just look at that, the dirty air of that Murdoch who was suffering through the back of that McLaren of Boyden. You can see what effect that had on the car, and that allowed Dan's car just to nip through then, and surely then the team game will be played here at McLaren. Boyden shouldn't be letting his teammate hold his teammate to. Oh, and Dan's car's hit the back of Boyden, and that's wing damage. The 2 teammates have made contact, and Boyden lets him go, but that's going to be no consolation to Dan's car now. He's got wing damage on the back of that car, and he was already far enough behind Antatak. Now with a wing to repair at his first pit stop, which will be in it for a good few laps yet. That's a big one. That's a big moment. Oh, that's a big one. The 2 teammates, you gotta get out of the way sooner than that. And could Boyden have done more to help his teammate in that situation, or was that just a mistake from Dan's car and just 1 corner too soon making contact? Well, what would he decide to do now? Will he come into the pits, or will he carry on? So he'll carry on, as is Howitzer and Philip. This battle between the 2, and Philip looks like he's going to tuck in then behind Howitzer, and Howitzer continues his charge. He's up to 4th place now. So Howitzer looking good then in the early stages of this Japanese Grand Prix. So then, Murdoch, having just lost the place to Dan's car, looking to get back. Runs onto the grass though. That's a tough one. Again, being stuck behind another car at this track is so tough, because a dirty air, it really does affect your levels of downforce, and through corners like the S's and 130R and even turn 1 as well, they are difficult to try and overcome. Easy to understeer off into the grass and onto a curb, and whoever knows what else, that could easily end your race. And Crumpet then gets by Boyden, who is continuing to slip further and further down. Those teammates, I suspect, will be close to following him as well. Let's see the exit out of Spoon. Actually, we'll go because I think Pro-Opa into the wall. Pro-Opa into the wall at the that's the Dunlop curve, I believe. So again, another victim of the Dunlop curve for this Japanese Grand Prix. It's a tough one. If you get up onto the curb, it will spin you around. Your entry, again, very important. How you rotate that car. No sign of stops at the front. Any sign of pit stops here? Nothing yet, although Dan's car then does dive into the pits, so to replace that wing, and he'll put on a set of mediums, I'm sure, and should be able to go to the end of the race from there. Let's just see what the championship leader does then. And nose replacement on that McLaren, and a new wing to boot, as well as Khalifa sets the fastest lap of the race. Here she goes. Where will he emerge? He should emerge in 12th place or 11th. Let's see. It'll be 11th place. It'll be 12th place for Dan's car. So he's got some work to do. Khalifa, I think Crumpet had an off somewhere, because Crumpet, oh, there he goes. He's off the track. Will he lose the wheel? Lose the wing? No. He just managed to avoid the wall, and just as well he did, because that would have been disastrous. Otherwise, he can recover onto the track. He's still in P11, but has to be extremely careful, and he can't keep control of the car. Again, lucky not to hit the wall but he's got other cars coming around him. Has to be so careful. Dan's car's able to make it through. Okay, then Bill, same thing. Crumpet's a little bit far away then, or Baza rather, a little bit further away. So we got Boyden then losing a position. He's gone very wide if he's lost that position already, and by that margin to Sir Lane. For third place though, Howitzer has got to the back of... I thought he's just lost. Yeah, I think he's just lost a wing there. I think he's just made contact with the back of Jack Gooding. That's Howitzer, and that is, if that is the case, that is desperately disappointing. If that's going to halt the progress of Howitzer, because coming behind them is of course Philip, who I don't believe has got wing damage on that car. Is there a second Williams I can check? It's Daziak. Yeah, he's definitely lost part of that front wing. Has Howitzer, as Boyden then finally comes into the pits to replace those super softs. So looking for Philip now to really get... He's in with a chance at the podium here, is Philip. So really interesting to see how this one's going to end up, as Crumpet gets a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. I'd imagine possibly the chicane, and Proba then off the track, getting out of the way for the lapped cars. Baza then getting by Crumpet then, and Crumpet's had another off somewhere. So race is descending into absolute chaos for Mr. Crumpet, having been running into the points. He is now well and truly out of those points. Oh, almost a bit of desync there between Philip and Howitzer. Very dangerous. Both cars are very lucky not to end up into a wall. Certainly Howitzer, who would have been obviously the prime car to lose out there had that desync been furthered along. Crumpet's into the pits then. He replaced those battered softs and put on a set of the mediums. No sign, however, of any activity at the top, although see if Apex does. And then moving on to lap 10 on those supers, and again Apex doing the same thing, carrying on. And Jack Gooding is going to dive into the pits though to replace that wing, I'd imagine, and those softs. So into the pits, and his team aren't ready for him, having just surged Mr. Crumpet. So that's going to be a little bit of time lost for Jack Gooding there, but replaces the wing and puts on a set of the medium tyres, and they'll go to the end of the race from there. He should emerge in 8th place. Yes, he should emerge in 8th. It'll be close, but I think he will just about nip in 8th place there for Jack Gooding. So not bad then. He can continue on with his stint. It was actually very close, actually. So he's actually in 9th, just ahead of Dan's car. So shot at some very good points here for Jack today, if he can continue where his current pace, his current trajectory after his very positive start after amid all the chaos. Though he did pick up with that bit of wing damage, showed good pace afterwards. Battle for third rages on, as it has. These two have kind of been together for a while in this race, Howitzer and Philip, and gradually that's just become the race for third, at least for now. Oh, as the exit then, I thought it's a bit of a better exit for Philip than Howitzer out of the spoon curve, and then down towards 130R. Here we go then. How's this one going to end? Philip is in front. Howitzer has to nudge off the throttle as Ant then comes into the pits. Will Apex follow him in? He will. So Apex then and Ant's the two leaders pitting this lap, and soft compound tyres for Ant. So having took his mediums then for Apex. So Ant then with a bold, super aggressive supers to softs. To be fair, if you could get 11 laps, 10 laps out of those supers, not inconceivable that he could get those softs to the end. So he's got a good margin over Apex, nearly 7 seconds. Khalifa comes into the pits as well to replace his softs. And the one thing Ant will have on his side, of course, is that he has the fresher tyres than Apex, obviously, and soft. Sorry, when I say fresher, he's got softer tyres, and of course that will mean a performance boost for Ant, and that surely will allow him to extend his lead to the point where when those softs do go off, he'll have a nice safety margin then to the cars behind with that soft tyre doing some good work. But these laps are critical then for Ant, because the longer the stint goes on, the more the advantage will shift towards the mediums. So important for Ant then to get the hammer down and put in some good laps. He's got some decently clear air. 3.7 then to Sir Lane, who I think he will catch eventually. So important laps then in this race, and possibly even this title, if things stay as they are, with Dan's car looking like he's going to be able to look at that tough result today compared to obviously Ant, and hopefully, fingers crossed, there won't be any accidents that will disrupt or kind of affect the title race this time as there was in Russia. So Howard then dives into the pits, Murdoch carries on and takes the lead of the race. Philip then came into the pits for mediums that lap, so I think just responding to that undercut, and that looks like a 5-second penalty being served, or just slow away. Either way, Philip rounds the final corner now, and where is Howard? He's going to clear him easily. Is Philip? There he goes. And I think Jack Gooding will too. And well, Dan's car is going to be close. Dan's car does clear him. I think that's an important move for Dan's car then to get ahead of Howard here. I think who has replaced that front wing now. You can see a nice fresh wing on that Williams, and now we see where he can finish this race. School have lost a good bit of time, obviously, but now can get the hammer down. I believe that's a weight change. Yeah, I believe so. So possibly Philip then had to change a wing as well. They're all kind of around the same area, aren't they? Philip, Jack Gooding and Howitzer, because they all have to pit because Jack Gooding replaced that wing. Howitzer, the same story, so I'd imagine that's what has happened. So the battle for the lead. Sir Lane on 9-lap-old mediums. He's got a long way to go on that stint if he's going to the end, but he is closing back on the race leader. And look at the difference of speed through 130R and towards the chicane. Just shows you what a good set of boots will do. And if you lift off, just a difference of speed, absolutely incredible. I'm not sure if Murdoch may have lifted off to let him go, but looked like just a much better exit really than first lane than Murdoch. You got Philip has got some traffic to negotiate. Risky racer in P5. Of course, 9-lap-old mediums for him. Fresh ones for Philip, so if the sooner he can clear this Haas, the better it'll be for his race. The longer it takes, he'll be compromised that little bit more. And nothing doing then into turn 1 then for Philip to get by on this occasion, and he'll really be held up here now. So look for Jack Gooding to really close up the gap then to Philip, as he's just trapped behind this Haas with older tyres and just having to just lift off the throttle, and just it's a painful one as Risky Racer gets onto the grass again. That's going to allow Philip to close up, but again he can't really do anything as Risky Racer covers the inside line through the Degners. And again, not a bad exit as well from Degner too, so it's going to be tough. Philip's going to have to get a great run out of Spoon, I think, if he wants to get a good run. Then down towards 130R, and then if nothing, then into the chicane. See what he can do from there. You can see already that's half a second that Philip has lost in this lap alone, stuck behind that Haas. Jack Gooding 1.7 seconds behind there. Let's see the exit from Spoon. Looks okay. If you can dig into the slipstream, you should be able to get this move done. Risky Racer defending the inside line, leaves Philip the racing line, and he swoops around and completes that move and moves up into 5th place. Then he's got 9 seconds to make up to his teammate Apex. So as Crumpet is out and the virtual safety car has been deployed, VSC deployed for Crumpet. Not sure where he's retired, but who is that? Does that benefit anyone? Yes, here we go then. Got Boyden and Bill coming in, and Bill has sped under the VSC, and Murdoch's done the same thing as well. So there's a delta that has to be adhered to under VSC, and appears they have exceeded that. So Biesma, and there goes Murdoch then, and has made an overtake under VSC. Is that what it looks like? Not sure what that's about, but anyways, Boyd and Bill, Biesma into the pits then as we get ready to go racing once again for that VSC. Bill and Boyden then exchanging positions out of the pit lane. Bill into 11th then, as Cylinder VSC waiting for it to end and you can get back racing then. And there we go then, we're back underway. Murdoch then in third then, Ant then in second. That leaves obviously Serlaine in first place. Oh, Genie Mac, that was almost a horrific incident between Risky Racer and Philip. Oh, that was a frightening to go on board with. Just out of control. Haas just really struggling in those tyres, it seems, and Jack Gooding then going to get a good run heading towards 130. Can he get the move done heading into it or into the chicane? Just pulling away slightly is Risky Racer, and that's because Jack Gooding doesn't have his ERS turned all the way up. Dance card close to this as well, so oh, it's going to end in tears surely. Let's see then. I think they're all actually kind of trapped in a sense. They're kind of all in the DRS bubble because no one's going to make an overtake here heading into turn 1 unless Risky Racer goes for a late dive. Had to think about it, but had to back out of it, nothing doing into turn 1. So nice little 4-car scrap then, and Howitzer catching on to the back of this as well. So this is a nice scrap then emerging for P5 in this race, though Risky Racer will have to pit eventually, and he's losing the back end of the car as Bill is sped into the pit lane then. So it's a rough one for Bill, and of course started, I think, in first. I think he did start first, didn't he? Yes, he did. So that's an extremely rough race for Bill. Meanwhile, this is interesting. Somewhere along the way, Ant has made a mistake somewhere because Murdoch is back into second, Ant in third, and now Apex is right behind him. So somewhere along the way, Ant has made an error, and now is trying to fight for this lead, and now the advantage fully back in Apex's favour as Risky Racer having an absolute mare. Howitzer's had it off somewhere as well because he's now 15 seconds behind now as well. So just absolute carnage, and Fernandez is out of the race. And imagine he's made that incident to the Dunlop curb. Murdoch pits then. So absolutely, it's all kicking off. Red is out as well. So lap 16, it's all kicked off. Ant has slipped away from the lead. Apex is right there with him. Howitzer's had another accident somewhere. So it's just all gone wrong as Racer comes into the pits then as well. So now all of a sudden Serlaine is in a really interesting spot now, because he has pit stop around Japan is not too long. He could come into the pits, put on a set of super softs, and he has a good chance to make up the places he loses. Very interestingly poised race now after that mistake from Ant. So Serlaine, after his early pit stop, his unscheduled pit stop, I believe, now has a chance to win this race if he can continue to extend that gap. He is on older mediums, and Ant is on fresher softs and is not pulling away from Apex. So that could be a big moment then, that mistake from Ant. We'll see. His title rival, meanwhile, Danskar, is trying to fight for 5th place with Jack Gooding. And sticking close to that Ferrari. Khalifa onto the back of Howitzer now as well. And Serlaine then does make the pit stop. Surely this will be for a set of supers. And if it is, I think he's looking very, very good. He'll have to make a few overtakes to get this one done. And he's playing it safe. That's a U. Oh, I thought it was a U set of softs for a second, but he does make the stop. Fresh softs. Ant will go by. Apex will go by. And Philip possibly too. Is it going to be close? Close enough, but Serlaine then emerges in third, and all he's got between him and this race win is the tune of 7 seconds. That's all there is separating between Serlaine and Ant. So interestingly poised race indeed. Murdoch into the pits on a fresh set of the supers. We've got Risky Racer looking to get by Beesma as well. Oh, I've come. Oh, and Apex is into the wall. I've the wrong time to go away. Apex is into the wall. I'm not sure if there was contact with Serlaine. His wing looks intact. Not sure what happened, but Apex then into the wall, and that is him definitely out of the running for this race then. He was right there along with Ant and Serlaine as well. But now, with a damaged wing, is firmly out of contention then for this one. And that gives another position then to Danskar. And all of a sudden Danskar looking at trying to get himself into 4th place if he can get by Jack Gooding. So this race was looking quite poor for Danskar after that wing damage they picked up on the back of his teammate's car. But now all of a sudden could be looking a lot worse than it actually was. Sorry, looking better than it was. And he's looking for a move to get by that Ferrari. Defending the line is Jack Gooden. How's his exit out of the final chicane? Not bad, to be fair, but has he got the straight line speed to get a move done? This looks like he could be the one for Danskar, and Khalifa's out of the race as well. That's from P8. Danskar down the inside. Can he keep the move? Yes, he can. He makes the move stick, and Danskar then is up into P4. And that's a big overtake for Danskar. He's been trying to have a good few laps down to get by that Ferrari, and now has got by. He's at the 4th place now, so minimising his title losses today. He's done a very good job, considering he's done the unscheduled, pitted earlier than he would have wanted to do, and of course adding the 7 or so seconds to replace that front wing. Apex then into the pits onto a set of supers, and he should emerge just outside the points, but will surely have the pace then to get himself back into the fray. Look at Biesma. All of a sudden Biesma's up into 8th place, so kind of hanging on the outside of the top 10 for a lot of this race. He's now in P8, so it kind of shows you how many mistakes have been made today and how he's had taken advantage. He's squabbling away with Risky Racer for P7, and Boyden just behind this group as well, and Murdoch will be joining them very, very shortly too, as will Bill, as will Apex, once they get a few laps in under their belts on their fresh tyres. So gap at the front, 4.2 seconds for Ant over Sirlane. Can't help but feel as Sirlane pumps in the fastest lap of the race that the ball is firmly in Sirlane's court now, having really pitted early to replace a wing, I believe, and has come back through. A lot of mistakes have been made by a lot of drivers, and that's definitely helped him get back into the position that he's in now, and now surely a firm favourite now for this Japanese Grand Prix. We'll find out. 10 laps remaining, or sorry, 9 laps remaining, including lap the one they're on. That's a poor one for Risky Racer out of the final chicane. Got onto the gravel. Excuse me, they'll be running side by side then. Risky Racer dipping into the toe, but he doesn't have DRS, and he can't fight that place, and that is Biesma then up into 7th. Decent exit for Risky Racer, but can't of course get anything done on the outside into... He's missing a front wing as well, actually. Not sure where he's picked up that wing damage, but that's why he's struggling so much through this S section. That will allow Biesma to pull away then. But for the rest of the guys behind, Murdoch and Boyden, how quickly can they navigate that one as Murdoch sneakily sneaks through on the inside of the Dunlop curve. That's a good overtake, opportunistic, and he moves into 9th. Then he'll have first crack at Risky Racer then of the pair of them, as his teammate Baza comes into the pits to replace those tyres. Oh, it's been desync, and I thought Risky Racer was going to end up into the wall. I thought there was desync there for a second. That was very, very scary, and Boyden has to be very, very careful now as well to avoid a similar fate. So Risky Racer all over the place on, to be fair, fresh soft tyres, so the excuse of having older tyres doesn't really apply here. But can't get anything done. How's his exit to the chicane? Running very wide is Risky Racer of the best line, and he's going to dive into the pits then to replace that wing, and that will surely be, he does slow down in time, so he comes into the pits then to replace that front wing as Apex sets the fastest lap there. He'll be joining the likes of Bill and Boyden very, very soon. Meanwhile, Danskar 1.2 seconds behind Phillips, so Danskar showing really good pace then at this phase of the race. It's closing in on that Renault, and at the front still the gap is coming down. 3.1 seconds now for Sirlane over Ant, and that's coming down further and further and further. And the further and further this race goes on, the more those tyres will wear for Ant. It was a gamble to stick on those softs. It looked like it was going to pay off, but a mistake somewhere along the way has cost him a handful of time, basically 7 seconds I would say. And well, being 9 seconds in front right now, 10 seconds in front right now, he'd be in a lot safer position than the one he's currently in, as his tyres continue to just continue to degrade further. Lap 21 of 27. See then Bill on the back of Boyden, and Apex be catching this lot soon as well. Fastest man on the track at the moment. DRS open for Bill, but Boyden, same lap old tyres, but of course a step compound harder, and Bill going to go down the inside. Can he make the turn? He can. And Bill then moves up into 9th place, a little wiggle on the exit of 1, but moves up then into 9th place. And has made another mistake somewhere, because he's lost over 2 seconds this lap. And now Sir Lane is firmly on his rear, and here we go then, the race, the battle for the lead, a big overtake in the context of the title. Surely Sir Lane will get this done heading into the chicane, if not down the main straight, and will try and defend it, but there's nothing really to defend. Sir Lane, oh, bit of contact between the two, Senna and Prost-esque, although both still in the race, but just more traction for Sir Lane. He'll whip around the outside, and will have DRS, so he'll come back at him side by side heading into turn 1. And has retaken the lead, having lost it. He got within the DRS range, the activation point. He was behind when he was in the when they crossed that line, and then used it to his advantage to take back the lead of the race from Sir Lane. But is that only a temporary bit of respite for Ant? Is there really anything he could do long term to hold off this raging Toro Rosso? Oh, Sir Lane down the inside into the first deck there. He's got the move done. Can Ant respond heading up the hill into the hairpin? Oh, he's going to try. Very, very late one from Ant. A little bit of contact, but Sir Lane holds on. So furiously raging this battle is between Sir Lane and Ant. Again, trying to head around the outside. Comes the inside for Spoon. A little bit of contact again. Oh, a good side-by-side racing here. They're still going at it. Who gets the best run out of Spoon? Ooh, onto the gravel a little bit was Sir Lane, but he's still going to have a good run at Ant heading towards 130R. This is really good stuff. Now then, who backs out of this one? And had the inside. Sir Lane on the outside runs a bit wide. Oh, contact between the two. Again, luckily, did not end in tears. They are fighting tooth and nail for this Japanese Grand Prix. Round the outside, Sir Lane will go. He will have DRS this time. And can Ant really fight that this time? No. There's too much straight line speed difference, and is that going to be the end then of the battle for P1 between Sir Lane and Ant Attack? That was a really entertaining battle, that. Top stuff. But I think with the tyre difference, I don't think Ant can really do anything to fight that. So he's going to hang on to second place for the now. Has to be careful to keep that second and not make any more mistakes, because he is at the moment gaining 6 points over Danskar, and that will reduce the gap to 21 points with, I believe, where is after this? There's USA, Mexico. I think there's 4 races after this, isn't there? So yeah, you can see Sir Lane already pulling away 2.1 seconds. So I believe it's USA, Mexico, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. I believe is I believe there's just 4 races left after this. Then that's my math is wrong. Anyways, details we can figure out later. Apex still hunting down Bill for P9. 7/10 behind the Haas. So a tough one for Apex for sure, and they're catching up to the back of Murdoch. Isn't too far ahead of this either. So minimal points on display here for these guys, but there you go. Such as I can actually hold on now. We'll check the pit stops in a second here as Risky Racer gets by Boyd and then into P11. Nothing else really happening at this stage, kind of just other than Apex just kind of catching up to the back of Bill. We'll stick with this actually before we move on to anything else, because he's got the good run out of 130R. We have a look into the chicane, a little bit too far back this time, but surely with the DRS heading down the main straight, surely this will be a move. Apex will get done. Oh, he's just a bit too far back though. How's his closing speed? Again, turn 1, not exactly the place you want to really make a lunge if you can avoid it, and Bill holding on for the time being. The majority of the field have actually done 2 stops, really, 2 or 3 stops. Only one. It looks like only 6 cars have actually done the scheduled 1 stop. So it just shows you how many people have got it wrong here today, or kind of been caught up in incidents. It's just been that kind of way for this race. Sadly for, well, many people really. Howitzer, Dan's car, and even though he's done 1 stop as Ant, he's made a lot of, it seems like he's made a lot of mistakes. I haven't seen them, but it seems like he's made a lot of mistakes. Bill, Apex, you know, Khalifa as well. It's all gone wrong for these guys in this race. Even Sir Lane to a degree as well. But thanks to the mistakes made from Ant, well, he's been allowed a reprieve. If anything, Ant is going to be under pressure here from Philip in 3rd, because he is closing that gap. Yellow flag is sector 2. I thought there was a yellow flag is sector 2. Meanwhile, Apex and Bill much closer this time. It's Apex to the Haas. Niall to get moved on into the chicane, but any semi-decent run, and this could be an overtake for 9th place. ERS wide open as well. Oh, a bit of late moon there from Bill. Oh, Apex won't like that. A little bit of late moon. He does run wide, does Bill. A little bit of contact between the two, and Apex nips through that into P9. So that is then that move done. Apex climbing up to 9th. He might be able to get 2 points at the very least for his troubles. And that's a car off the track. That's Murdoch off the track. So an extra 2 points then heading towards Apex's way after that mistake from Murdoch. 8-lap old Supers maybe just gave the ghost on him heading through the S's. He's lost 2 positions there, and that's him down to 10th place. Meanwhile, things begin to get a little spicy up front here, as Ant under pressure. 1 second to him and Philip. And well, it was bad enough for Ant to lose 1st place, but if he loses 2nd, that would be even worse for him. He's got 2 laps to hold off Philip. I think Dan's car will be a little bit too far for Ant this time, but oh, he's gone wide, has Ant, and he's lost the position. So the tyres, again, a long way to take softs. It was a risky gamble to take the softs at his stop. And again, another mistake from Ant. The tyres just not giving him the grip he needs. Another mistake from Ant. And now he's down to 3rd place. And if he's not careful, oh, and Dan's car's off! He's had a spin just when it looked like he may have been able to shape a move into 3rd place, possibly if he could catch up to the back of Ant. He's been handed a reprieve. Dan's car losing the back end through the through the Dunlap curb, and then has lost the position to Jack Gooding then. So big moment then. That will certainly help Ant just a little bit in terms of the title. It certainly means at the very least he won't be losing any ground to Dan's car. And at this rate he could gain 5 points over Dan's car if it finishes as it is, and he would gain, it'd be 20 points then the gap with 4 races to go. Not impossible, but could have been so much more had he made a few better decisions today on the track. Last lap then for Sir Lane. Well, topsy-turvy race for Sir Lane. He looked good at the start, then came into the pits upon the mediums, made a 2nd stop, then obviously the mediums couldn't go to the end, and now he's able to get himself back through into 1st and has pulled away ever since. So he's been well worth his win today. He's had to fight a lot of adversity, and he is going to go back through, and he looks like he's going to win this Japanese Grand Prix at the back here. Daziek and Baza switching places. It's been an absolute mare for Baza today. Both Mercedes haven't had the best of times at Suzuka. They only need to endure one more lap. 1.3 seconds gap between Jack and Danscar, so could there be a late change then between this Ferrari and the McLaren? But the only thing left basically to decide in this race, everything else is fairly well set at this stage. As Sir Lane rounds 130R for the final time into the final chicane. He's overcome it all today, and he's going to take a very well deserved first place. Sir Lane then wins in Japan quite convincingly in the end. Philip then is going to come across in second place, so somehow getting a good result here, Philip. Ant then will round in third, 2.2 seconds behind that, and here you go then. Jack Gooding then will cross the line for fourth place. Danscar will emerge in fifth, just about. And there's a bit of a gap then to the rest of the field then with Howitzer, and there'll be some lap cars obviously to cross the line in between as well. So then Ant gaining some ground on Danscar today, but again I think the win was there for Ant. And that is Biesma into 7th place then as well. That's a great result from Biesma, finishing 7th. Then Apex then will finish 8th. Boyden, Propa, Baza, they'll finish 9th. They'll finish 13th and 15th. Of course, Propa, I think, left. Bill finishes 9th. Murdoch then will finish in 10th to round out the point scoring positions. And then will come Risky Racer and Boyden to finish off the Japanese Grand Prix then. An eventful Japanese Grand Prix, absolutely chaotic Japanese Grand Prix at times. And there you go, that is the Japanese Grand Prix, round 17 of ILR6 concluded. And Tataka does get some ground on Danscar, but not the ground he would have been hoping for and would have been expecting. The way this race unfolded could have been so much more. It's another win for Ant then, or for Sir Lane in the Toro Rosso. He's definitely having a say in this title race, taking away points from the likes of Danscar and Ant, and the top points at that. We'll go through the field one last time as it finished. So Sir Lane winning then in Japan ahead of Philip in second, Ant in third, Jack in fourth, Danscar fifth, Howitzer sixth, Biesma seventh, Apex eighth, Bill ninth, Murdoch 10th, Risky Racer 11th, Boyden 12th, Daciak 13th, and Baza, I believe, rounds out the finishing drivers in 14th. Then we lost Pro Opa, Khalifa, Fernandez, Red, Crumpet, and Rob. So that's going to do it for round number 17 of ILR6. Next up is, well, for ILR6 will be USA, but for inside line racing you can stick around. There will be racing from ILRs 3 and 4 at the same track. Hopefully some good races there as well. So anyways, hope you enjoyed that race, and until next time.